Yeah.
All right. I think we have audio now.
Audio?
Yep.
All right. I see. Sound bars moving.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. We're here to do our weekly live chats, our Zero BS live chat. We're going to answer all your questions about all things 034 Motorsport, and we also love to answer questions about all things automotive. So anything you've ever wanted to know about our products or about cars and anything like that. Write your question into the browser screen. Comment text field of your choice.
However you're watching it.
It will get transferred into here, and then you can watch us hate our jobs live. Apparently somebody thought that we hated our jobs. Well, a few people, apparently. So let's jump into it. Someone says my B9 SQ5 is stage 193 tuned, and I love it. Thank you and your team. You're welcome.
Awesome.
That's always the kind of feedback we love to hear. Someone says, hi team, B9 S4. If I want to do an acceleration package but use a different induction bundle, I would rather do the P34 instead of the S34. Is that possible to do, or do I need to order it separately? Yeah, we don't currently have a built-out package for that on the website. But if you email sales@034motorsport.com, we can put that together for you in a quote and send it to you with the discounts and everything. So just like as if it was there. Happy to, offer that, incentive to buying all the parts together. We have a little announcement to make too, right?
There is an announcement.
Yeah. So
fill in those details.
Yeah. So as of right now, our Winterfest sale is live. Started this morning. Basically 10% off all hardware and software site-wide for all 034 Motorsport products. We do carry a number of third-party products, and those aren't necessarily going to be on sale. But this is a 034 specific sale, and up to 15% on select products for a limited time. So, and apparently we have up to 15% off products in every hardware category. And it ends on February 10th, and it's to go tandem in
13th,
February 13th. It's to go tandem with our Winterfest event this Saturday, February 8th. So if you're local or even not so local, want to travel out to Fremont, we'll be here pretty much all morning and early afternoon till about 2-ish. Doing our Winterfest event. You can read about it on our Facebook page. Do we have information about it on our website?
Blog should be up.
There should be a blog on our website about that. We should have a link on the homepage or something.
The blog.
I mean, I would have thought the blog went up last week.
I would have
or
thought so.
2 weeks ago when we announced that.
I would agree.
The CREC E85 Stage 2 is a game changer. Absolutely love it. Love to hear this feedback. Thank you.
It's a whole nother, basically a whole nother flag
Yeah.
compared to the 91, 93 stuff.
Yeah, the CREC's a really nice platform. Or CREC, or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
B9 S4, wondering if I should switch to 5W40 once it gets warm again. Been on 0W20 since owning, currently 5,000 miles on stage 2 with you guys. You can. I don't think it will really matter that much. Those are both acceptable oils in the scheme of things to run. But yeah, you don't necessarily need the extra viscosity in the summer. So, I know. But I think, do you have an opinion?
No, it should be fine. I don't think anybody's reporting anything.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to run the heavier oil, and just with the load of what your engine is seeing, the increased viscosity does create more losses, frictional losses, rotational losses. The oil is harder to move around inside the engine the thicker it is, but you're playing with some trade-offs. Why don't you guys make a tune for the V8 RS5? We did not, because we chose to and typically you'll see we choose to prioritize turbo and supercharged forced induction application. That's where you really get the bang for the buck. The V8 RS5 engine, which is a wonderful, 400 horsepower engine from the factory, doesn't have a power adder, other than it can rev to whatever 8,500 RPM. That's kind of its power adder, is the cams and stuff, and so you really can't rev it much higher. You can advance the timing a little bit. So we could possibly develop a tune that might make another 5 or 10 horsepower. It's just not really worth it, so you're gonna pay $600-800 for a tune. The dollar per horsepower ratio is awful compared to even the 1.8T tune or the 2.0 T tune that we sell, which you're gonna get from that same $600-800. You're gonna get another 50 to 80 horsepower. So it's just as much work to develop a tune for an engine like that, and to flash the ECU and to put in all the protocols and the support and everything. And so, for us, the market is happier with these higher horsepower tunes. So honestly, if you have an RS5, normally aspirated, B7 RS5 or B8 era RS5, you could tune it if you want. I wouldn't even know who to recommend necessarily.
Yeah, they're pretty well dialed from the factory, unless you're doing some strange hardware combo.
Yeah, if there's some kind of feature you want, like with the rev limiter or
creature
something.
comforts or the.
But those are manual. Oh no, the RS5s are DSG. So yeah, maybe you could do a DSG tune or something, or to get something with the shifting. But if you want to spend that money or effort on a horsepower mod, you're just not, unless it's there to support headers or a supercharger kit or something.
But as like a stage 1 power adder, there's not a ton on the plate for a stock setup.
Yeah, that car is going to be less about adding more power and just optimizing the suspension and things like that. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on 0 through 4 pendulum mounts and NVH. What's the reality on the increase in NVH with this upgrade? Well, that's a pretty generic question. We offer pendulum mounts for a wide range of applications. Generally speaking, the pendulum mount on its own isn't going to add a lot of NVH or any NVH. The NVH will be the result of stiffening up the dog bone mount. So it's the big mount in the subframe that the dog bone arm attaches to. So the arm is, there is many of the applications, there's a small rubber bushing on one side, and you can eliminate the deflection and movement in that rubber bushing by upgrading to our pendulum mounts. However, the amount of NVH through that side is connected to the engine. So the amount of NVH between the dog bone arm and the engine could increase, but that's not necessarily going to be felt until you stiffen up the other side of that bushing, which is what connect the circuit of vibration. So it depends. If you're very concerned about NVH, I would recommend keeping your stock dog bone mount and using our inserts as a good option. The NVH really goes up when you start going up the mod ladder for the dog bone mounts. So we do offer a density mount, and if you use the density mount by itself, the NVH isn't too bad. If you add inserts into it, it does increase. And if you go with like a track density dog bone mount, you're gonna feel NVH. So it's gonna really lock down your drivetrain. But as always, there's no free lunch. If you install dog bone and pendulum mount upgrades and there's 0 NVH increase, then you pretty much just put in another stock part. You are going to feel some NVH from even light modifications, because that bracket and all those parts are essentially connected to like your butt. It's like the subframe's connected right under where you sit. So as those vibrations come in, they're going to resonate the floor pan right below you. So if you're really concerned about NVH, stay stock. If you can accept a little bit, our kind of stage 1 and street density products will, our inserts will be the best way to go. Q7 4M air intake coming soon. Yeah, I mean, we don't usually do update questions, but I wanted to mention this one. So the Q7, the 4M Q7 is an interesting case, and this is kind of the 4M.5 is impacted by this as well. This is pretty rare, but we like to be honest and forthcoming about this kind of stuff when we see it. The Q7 4M factory air filter has airflow potential for about 2,000 horsepower. It's a massive, high-flowing factory air filter. It's a function of the surface area. This air filter is about this big, and it's about this tall. And it has a large pleated paper filter around the entire perimeter of the filter. And it's molded inside this plastic housing. But that thing flows like 2,000 CFM. I mean, it pretty much maxed out our flow bench. So we actually had one of our air filter manufacturers try to just make a replacement, and it flowed less than the stock one. So we won't be changing the factory air filter because I honestly would be disingenuous to do it. There's absolutely no. I mean, you could do like a full frame GT45R turbo build and use the stock air filter just fine. So we will be offering a new silicone hose. We will be offering a super duper upgrade for that. And we may at some point do like a carbon fiber like shroud or something like that. Like a S34 style housing. But the factory filter does not need to be upgraded, and it's freaking amazing and it's cheap. So yeah. But you'll see us post more info about that probably this summer.
Good problem to have.
Yeah.
For those those with the Q7s.
Yeah, we're just not here to sell people stuff they don't really need. Looks like we already answered 6. I don't know why that's still there. Yeah. B9 S4 Stage 1 running E85 for the last month, and it works awesome on these relatively high compression turbo engines. Typically every 2,500 miles, I tip a bottle of Techron fuel system cleaner in with E85 burning cleaner. Is this a waste of time now? If California mandates E85 as a minimum of 70% ethanol, why do you recommend a sensor? Well, let's see. So there's nothing wrong with running a bottle of Techron. E85 isn't necessarily cleaner than gasoline. So you do still have injector clogging issues and varnishing issues with E85. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to run fuel system cleaner. There's some factory fuel system cleaner that we also sell on our website that we recommend. It's important to have a sensor because California mandates minimum of E55, and we've never seen anything less than E70. But what California mandates, or what the fuel companies strive to provide, doesn't mean that you won't accidentally get a tank of E30 or cow piss or God knows what. So if these E85 content level sensor kits are relatively cheap, and the cost of having a problem is very high. So we recommend just double checking to make sure. And as a bonus, you can see when the E85 actually gets to the the fuel rail and injectors once you install a sensor system. So you don't need one. We strongly recommend that you do, but actually my Q7 doesn't have a sensor, and I've driven it quite a bit with the E85 in there. So
I feel like we had it in recently. I'll have to double check.
No, there's no gauge or there's no thing in my car that says fuel.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. And there's no
That's
gauge in the car.
No, it's not a gauge, but yeah, we generally add them to all the dev cars.
Yeah. So But the point is, regardless of, the speed limit's also 55, but you don't see anyone driving 55. So there's a big difference between real world and what the regulations are. What happened to the RS5 AMAX trans tune?
Nothing happened.
Getting developed.
It's in development.
Yeah. It's coming along. We will release it once it's finalized. Stay tuned. Pick the color. I'm ordering ZTF LPO1s in 19 by 9.3 for my Black C7.5 A6. Tell me what color to order. Well, we have one vote for silver or bronze. My vote would be
silver or bronze. It's 2 votes.
Yeah. Oh, that's not very helpful.
Not very helpful.
50-50.
Yeah.
I would recommend silver. I think silver looks great on black cars, and especially Audis and German cars. It's just, but I've been around for a while. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty old too. So silver also gets my nod.
Yeah, I think
I'm fairly boring in the style department.
A lot of men out there may recommend like bubblegum fuchsia or something. We don't carry that color, unfortunately, but
you can always get it painted.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think silver's a great choice. It's a really nice wheel to begin with. So, but color is a personal choice. So, yeah. Is there an axle back being developed for the B9.5 SQ5? No. In general, we don't do axle back exhausts. We do our ResX concept for various applications. And so we will go in and replace certain parts of the factory system that are either restrictive or have additional resonators. And so we can curate the exhaust performance and sound tone using our ResX products. So I would recommend looking at our ResX products for that. There is one application we're working on, the SQ7, where we will be replacing about half of the exhaust with various ResX products. Yeah. Because the standard, ResX mod that we did just didn't change the tonality at all. So we had to go back and replace more of the system.
Yeah, the axle back stuff can get tricky too, because the OEMs like to revamp model lines like mid-year or mid-production. So you get the B9 and the B9.5, and a lot of times that'll involve new bumpers, which moves tips around. So it gets to be kind of a mess to do a simple axle back thing.
The biggest thing is, a full exhaust. This could be in the $2,000 to $3,000 range for a full exhaust these days. So
they also alter.
Yeah, it's hard, and the factory exhausts thankfully have been very performant on all these applications for the vast majority of people.
So if we can get you a good sounding exhaust for $500 or $800 at the most, sometimes $200, then we feel like that's a great service to offer the market. Do I need any other upgrades on my 2018 S5 cab with Stage 1 E85?
I don't run stage.
To run stage. I don't believe so.
Stage 1, no, you're good to go on that. We list all of the requirements for given specs and fuels in all of our products. So those are designed to work just fine on some hardware. There's a bunch of stuff we recommend, primarily like intercooler and intake upgrades, but that's going to be it'll work fine stock.
Yeah. How did 0 through 4 originate? Well, we do talk about this quite a bit, but
what's your origin story?
Didn't even know.
Yeah, I started 034 in kind of the early 2000s. It came out of an obsession for Audis and for cars in general, and I'm a very curious person who loves to tweak and modify things, and I was greatly inspired by the Audi motorsport history and legacy that even in the late 90s, from Audi's rally racing to the IMSA GTO and Trans Am racing of the late 80s and early 90s to V8 DTM. even right around that time when I started 034, World Challenge was the champion S4s were racing in World Challenge. The Audi R8 Le Mans race car, not the R8 street
Right,
car, but the
LMS
original
car, yeah.
R8 LMS prototype car. So I was just enamored by Quattro technology early on, and then got kind of really obsessed with turbo swapping and trying to get that kind of 200 horsepower turbo power in one of the NA cars, and I got really deep with my Audi 80 Quattro at the time, 80TQ, and 80TQ.com is still a live website, and it's my personal website that I had before 034 Motorsport. But I got really big on the Quattro list and the Audi fans groups back early in the days, and then through a lot of that activity, I met Nate.
Yep.
And in the late '90s, we would chat a lot, and he became one of my like Audi tuning buddies. We were on opposite coasts, but we ended up starting Motor Geek in maybe like around 2000 or so, as a 2001 as a way to
I don't know when it actually fired up, but yeah, it's probably around there.
Yeah, as a way to support my very first product, which was a standalone fuel injection conversion kit, so that you could convert the CIS Bosch CIS system. And if you don't know what that is, consider yourself lucky.
It's a very unfortunate metering system for me.
But Audis really didn't start running like what you would consider just basic fuel injection really until the 90s, until even into the 90s on a lot of cars. In fact, maybe 1991 was one of the first times Audi used Bosch Motronic and the C4 S4. Before that, cars, I guess Bosch Motronic was on the 1990. No, it was on the 91 200 as well. So it was like 91, really.
There was some Digifont stuff, I think.
Well, that was Volkswagen.
Yeah, on the Volkswagen side.
Yeah, if any Audis had that 4-cylinder one.
They were really crude, and those still had there was the early flapper valve maps too.
But anyways, the thought of like getting rid of all that CIS crap and just having an air filter going into your turbo with a programmable fuel injection system was just intoxicating. And so I worked with a really good software programmer and a hardware guy, and I basically was the hands-on, like I would test everything. And we created an ECU that would replace the fuel system side. And then a year later, we added the electronic ignition side as well. And so Nate kind of became like a product tester, and he would help me test, and I would send him stuff, and he would verify it. And so I started selling these 034 EFI kits in like 2000. And then by 2003, I was like doing it as a second full-time job. And by early 2005, I was able to quit my day job and go full-time doing 034. And at that time, I changed the name to 034 Motorsport, because 034 EFI just seemed too restrictive, too limiting as far as products. Now imagine if we were still called 034 EFI. Like, who would want to buy sway bars and springs and all these other products we sell from an EFI company? So, and even our tuning, really, it has less to do with EFI and a lot more to do with software engineering and motorsport development and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm very lucky to have had a very successful career doing what I love. Doing it with people I love, doing it with my friends. Even now today, my best friends are people that work here and that I work with on the management team. But you could say 034 originated from an obsession and from an insane amount of work. The type of work that I could not do today. I'm 50, and I think about the hours and the wrenching and the knuckle busting that I did, in those early years. And I don't think I could do it again. I would have to do it in a much smarter, less labor intensive way, and with some really more great people around me who could take on a lot of the heavy load and the heavy lifting and stuff. But yeah, that's how we got started. And you know, it's interesting, like asking how it originated. But you know, when I think about it, we've re-originated ourselves many times, right? And so the thing that I started doing and that we started doing in 2005, 2006 is completely absent in the company now. I mean, though there is a handful of products that we've been selling since 2005, but we've had to reinvent ourselves many times to stay current, to stay relevant, to be able to grow and become the company that we are now. So, you know, arguably we're a leading, you know, 034 is a leading world renowned tuning company, and it's from our ability to constantly reinvent ourselves and re-originate ourselves. So, but yeah, we are considering kind of spinning up a little sub brand called 034 Tradition, and we are bringing back some of those products that we did in the past, because there's really been a revitalization of, you know, kind of Audi vintage cars, where used to be an Audi 4000 Quattro was like a throwaway car, and now, you know, now they're selling for like 15-20 grand, you know, in like okay condition. So, you know, we do still sell products for those cars, but we are bringing back some of the products that we discontinued in the past, just so that we can continue to support those older cars that we got started on. So yeah, that's a little bit of the story. I think we have some videos too on our YouTube. But thanks for asking. Is the fuel pump piston required to go E40 Stage 1 on B8.5 S4? Well, all this stuff is listed on the tuning product pages if you want to know. But yeah, any of our E85 tunes do require a high pressure.
For the B8, yeah. For the B8, you'll need a pump in there, or a piston in there.
Can I run E30 to E40 on a stock fuel system on a B8 S5?
Just covered that. Nope. You've gotta modify the high pressure pump.
Yeah. Is it okay to run 502/505 oil on E888 that requires 507/508 oil?
I'd have to check on all of the specs on that. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think it's just a weight thing.
I can't say for sure. Yeah.
There is no 507, 508, 5W40. So when people go down, they're going down to that lower spec.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It would have to be depending on what the actual spec is.
Yeah, I would say just get the right oil if you're not sure, unless you know better. Can I run O2 spacers on B8 3.0 T? There's no scenario where you would need to or you should.
Nope.
If you're running our stage 1 tune or stage 2 tune in this particular case that requires having O2 sensors, then you don't want to do spacers, because you would fuck up the O2 sensor signals.
There's basically no realm where an O2 spacer is ever the correct
in for B8 034 tune.
For any of the tunes we provide, or
because we do offer a catless racing tune as well, and again, no spacers are required for that. In fact, spacers will hurt the performance.
Yeah, you'll get
you cannot
false readings at the rear of two sensors. You'll get don't mess with the sensors.
Yeah, you cannot and shouldn't. Is the radiator fan on my 2016 Q5 3.0 T supposed to run almost all the time with the stage 1 tune? It's quite annoying, especially when the weather is cold outside and the fans turn on 90% of the time.
Yeah, you have your advanced launch control on.
Yeah, you need to turn that off.
We have some videos describing the features. This would be, I guess, a side effect if you don't intend to have it on. But the fan is there to lower your intake temps as much as possible for, drag racing or whatever situations you want that. So to turn it off, just turn your cruise control stock off if you're not using it, and your fans will spin down and act just like stock.
Yeah. And maybe you guys can send them a link.
Yep.
Will the 401 bootloader be cracked? Is this the most difficult time you've had cracking a bootloader?
That's difficult to say until it's done and working. So when it's done and working, we'll let you know. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. They're always going to get trickier. Sometimes they miss some steps, and it makes it easier. So chances are good it's going to be cracked. There's no timeline until it's done and there's a good working solution in the wild. But
the problem that you haven't solved is always the most difficult problem you've had, And so once it's done, you're here now, and then you build from that. And that's our industry has been doing this, since the 90s.
And so many times too, when it is finally circumvented and worked around, it's something really silly. A lot of the times, like the B8s in particular, it was years before those were cracked, and then it was like, oh, okay, there was a really simple oversight that was found, and that was kind of the key end. So, it's one of those things where it's like Javad said, it's the hardest thing until it's solved, and usually it's actually a simple, silly problem.
Mm-hmm. Would a bad in-tank fuel pump cause fuel rail pressure problems?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So your high pressure pump requires that a certain amount of pressure at its inlet and a certain amount of flow to maintain that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got an in-tank pump that's marginal or failing, then absolutely it cannot provide that offset of pressure to the fuel rail.
The high pressure pump cannot suck enough fuel into itself through a dead pump or a bad.
It's got to have like 3 or 4 bar of base pressure at its inlet.
Mm-hmm. This might be a dumb question, but is there any real benefit in filling up more expensive fuel like Chevron or something compared to like a Kroger gas station? Do the detergents and the more expensive fuel really do anything good? I'm in general a very skeptical person. I think hopefully you all see this from the outside, that at 034 we are honest and transparent about what our products do. There's not a lot of hype or bullshitty hyperbole about our products. You just literally heard me talk about how a factory air filter is more than good enough and doesn't need to be replaced. So coming from that, knowing the kind of person I am, I would say no, you don't need to prioritize where you buy your fuel. All gasoline is manufactured according to very rigid standards and even laws and regulations. And so there's a lot of branding and marketing around getting you to choose the gas station here instead of here across the street from each other, and to pay 50 cents more a gallon for this one than that one. I drive around looking for the cheapest gas station I can find. I mean, I don't go out of my way to drive across town to get cheaper gas, but if there's a Chevron and a Fucky Duckies that's 20 cents cheaper, I'm going Fucky Duckies, which is a spin-off of Boosie's.
Calm down.
So no, but you can. I think you can go anywhere. I don't think like the detergents and cleaning stuff that they put in hurts other than your wallet. I don't know if it really helps that much. I haven't. Maybe you can
never seeked it out.
Maybe Consumer Reports.
I know there's been some tests on it, but I can't think of how beneficial they are off the top of my head.
Yeah.
In California specifically, I know that every fuel has to be top tier certified. Like will have the
it'll have We're back somehow.
Oh, I was just finishing by saying save the money and buy cheaper gas. And if you feel like you need a fuel system cleaner, then buy the Volkswagen Audi one, or find the most reputable fuel system cleaner on the market that you can.
Somebody said "fucky ducky" didn't like that. Yeah. They're everywhere.
Never diss Techron.
Yep.
All right, 8Y S3 spark plug recommendations. Currently stage 1, planning on stage 3 soon. Thanks for the hard work through our team. You're welcome. Do we have a recommendation for those other than stock?
I mean, stock works great. Your stage 1 is
you can use an ER10.
Yeah, and then we've got some Brisk options that'll fit it as well. But frankly, for a low hassle, long life plug, the stock stuff works.
Stock's totally fine.
Yeah, currently for that particular application, we're still recommending stock plugs. We do have some Brisk options that will fit as well, that are probably they perform as well as stock for less money. Maybe they won't last as long. Is the high pressure fuel pump on the B9 particularly loud? Yeah, it's doing horrible things to the fuel inside it.
The pump and the injectors. It's a pretty loud motor. But yeah,
the injectors are
cramming some fuel into places the fuel isn't intending to go.
Yeah, I remember when the Mark V came out. It was the first FSI car, and it was like noticeably louder and sounded different idling. But an interesting data point is early in the 034 EFI days, we built this demonstration board that was like nice plexiglass and had our standalone ECU, and it would actually fire ignition coils into spark plugs as well as fuel injectors. But you could run the board. It's dry, there's no fuel, and you could hear the sound of a 5-cylinder engine through the firing of the injectors, and they're loud.
That's cool. You can load up different cylinder counts in the ECU and run it as different motors.
And if you just change the firing order of the injectors, the tone of the sound would totally change. Yep. Just even EFI injectors, they click really loud. Everything, they go clack, 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 clack. And
more so with fuel behind them too, with a head pressure on them.
Yeah. And then now you're talking about an FSI injector that's dealing with 200 bar or whatever. That's a lot of force, going in and out of that injector and through that fuel system. So, yeah, they're just loud in general. Yeah, it's totally normal.
On B9 3-liter, people get thrown off on stage 1 going from 91 to 93 to E85 because you begin to hear
your fuel metering volume on that pump is increased by 30%. So you're going to have a bit more noise as it's doing a little bit of work.
Yeah, my Q7's like that too. It's much louder with E85 in there. Yeah. That's just the sound of good things happening.
It's the same sound that pump would be doing on 91, just at a higher load, but it's happening a little bit lower down at idle now, so it's just going to be a little more noticeable when there's not a lot of other ambient noise going on.
Can you flag specifically that we've already answered Jay Ducey's question about B9.5 tuning?
Where are we at?
Jay Ducey, we've already answered the B9.5 question.
Thank you.
Yes. This could be the most asked question I've ever seen on YouTube. What type of exhaust setup do you guys have on Nate's B8?
Oh my goodness.
Anything special like test pipes or something? Also trim models. People want to know this.
It depends on the state of the car and what we're doing. It moves all over the place.
But generally.
The last time it was at Laguna Seca, it was on headers. That's probably what they're thinking, is it's probably the most recent video we've got on it.
Now, there's the one video where I think it's Nick doing the original ALC video.
Yeah. Oh God, that was...
And everyone's just like, what exhaust is it? It
was AWE test pipe.
I don't even know if that was test pipes. That might have been stock cat stuff just for doing the video.
No. Many forms.
Okay. Yeah. That one might have been, probably. It's an AWE exhaust.
Which one though? Don't they have like 7?
Yeah, it's the,
Orgasm Track Sport.
I think it was a Touring.
It was a track, but you put an active flow in the middle.
I didn't do that. That's how I came when I got into it. Yeah, it was a used thing. Yeah. But all of those cans, for whatever they are pretty packed out and blown out at this point. So it's barely doing its thing. So it's just whatever combo's in there, it actually doesn't sound too bad. So
Did we get Jay Ducey sorted?
He has signed up.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, just for whatever you think you might know there, JDC, the B9.5 TCU tune is released. If you are on a non-flashable TCU and we don't have a tune for you, no one does right now. So,
Yeah. Nobody else does.
Well,
Are we going to like 5 after?
Yeah, since we didn't start.
Yeah, I think we started
on
at
time.
4 after. So. I recently bought a B9 S5 with 36,000 miles. I'm afraid of modding. Are these cars at stage 2 as reliable as they would be stock?
I would say stage 2 is not even something you would need to worry about.
I wouldn't.
I would just say stage 1,
Agreed.
intake and intercooler, and you're going to have a really solid setup.
Yeah, if you're worried about reliability, not to say that stage 2 is less reliable, but
that's intended for racing stuff.
Part of the reliability of the car is having the factory CAD in place and having a good emissions, clean emissions profile and being legal. But yeah, stage 1 with an intake and intercooler is going to be a really optimized power setup that's going to be just as reliable as stock. We don't see any higher failure rates with that. I would say if you're worried about reliability, don't go stage 3 high output. That puts you the closest to the edge. It's kind of like saying, well, I'd like to go to the pool and go diving, but I really don't want to get hurt. And it's like, well, maybe don't go off the 15-meter high dive thing. Just go off the 5-meter one. That's still pretty high, but
that's
15 feet. You're probably not going to get hurt from 15 feet. Yeah. Maybe from 75 feet you'll survive, but you might get hurt. Now, and even our stage 3 high output is reliable. Don't get me wrong, but you're that much closer to the edge. So if you have a problem with a clogged injector or misfiring spark plug or anything like that, your fuel octane or your fuel system flow isn't what it should be. If anything's not kind of perfect and operating just how it's supposed to be, then it could put you over the edge. So that's why we offer our stage 3 standard output files, which give you that headroom and safety net. The safety net just gets the smallest it can be on high output. Yeah. At stage 1, you still have a huge safety net. And I would even say to go stage 1 E85, you're totally fine. So yeah, I would do it and enjoy it. A freaking meteor could hit you on the head at any second, too. So there's no guarantees for anything, but meteor's probably not going to hit you. So enjoy yourself. B9 SQ5 sway bars have set in stock for weeks and order hasn't shipped. What's going on? Yeah, it looks like they were in stock, but were put on hold due to a QC checking issue. They should be shipping soon, but if you'd like a more specific answer, shoot an email to contact@034motorsport.com, and they can give you the most up-to-date ETA that we have. Apologize about that, but yeah, the bars did come in and an issue was identified. So our system still says they're in stock, but we haven't been pulling and shipping them because if you got it, you'd have a problem with it. So we've been working diligently to correct it. I don't have all the details, but I know that much. Wino RS6 tune. We have not released an RS6 tune or made it a high priority compared to the other tunes and applications you've seen us releasing and supporting. So it's something we'd like to get to, but for the time being, the feedback from our customers is pointing towards, the current effort and work that we're doing. I was driving from Florida to Arizona and I had to downgrade my tune. It made me flash to stock prior to getting my access back to my other tunes. I have a 2018 Stage 5 or S5 STG2. I was wondering what info you could give.
Yeah. So what happened is basically there was an OEM update that came along for your application, and you were just from whenever you had flashed prior to that moment in time, that update had been applied to the server, and it was just getting you up to the latest OEM software base, level, you could say. So that it'll say that on the server. It's not just a flash to stock. It's a OEM update flash to stock. So it'll take you up to the latest OEM level, and then you can flash all of your, calibrated stuff back on.
Yeah, there's a good question inside this. I'll read it as presented, but I do want to address it very directly, because as I just got done saying a few minutes ago, we're really like a no BS company and really not about gimmicks and marketing hyperbole. And so I understand this perception, and I want to address it really directly to make sure you know exactly where we're coming from. But this is the question. I noticed recent 10%-ish price increase. Then it's 10% Winterfest sale time, LOL. Is it really even a sale when it's the same price it was a couple months ago? Because this is something I notice with like Amazon and a lot of the big retailers. And it always pisses me off every Black Friday too, because there's some things that I'll be like, I want to buy this, but I don't need it right now. I'll just wait till Black Friday when Amazon or whoever has a sale. And so I'll just kind of know mentally, it's $25. And then Black Friday comes around and it says, 40% off, and it's like $24.95, and that kind of shit really pisses me off. And I give you that story initially that this whole gimmick or sale tactic pisses me off as a consumer, and so it's nothing that I would ever do or attempt to do with our customer base as a retailer myself. But we have had to raise our prices a number of times over the years. We've always worked really hard to not raise prices. It may go without saying, but it's harder for us to sell products when the products are more expensive. We would much rather sell a product for 10% less and be able to make enough profit to run and operate the company and meet our budget. We would always rather do that at a lower retail price. As you raise prices, products get more difficult to sell, and it makes you less competitive. When you are the most expensive out of a bunch of really good products that are cheaper than you, then it puts you at a disadvantage. So we have to be very careful with price increases, because with every increase, it puts us at more of a disadvantage to the competition, to all the other options out there. But at the same time, 034 is a leading tuning company, arguably driving forward market trends and new product offerings and knocking down walls and barriers to tuning and modification. And so that requires us to be at a certain level of profitability. We cannot be the company that you've grown to love if we don't generate the profit to be able to hire the staff, pay for cost and inflationary increases, grow and invest in these new opportunities. There's products that we've released in the past year that we needed to put $100,000 of investment just to have it in stock so we could sell it, right? You can't do that if you're like just, losing money. So over the last,
I think that doesn't even count development costs and tooling costs for,
no, I mean, that's just
inventory.
Put it on the shelf so you can sell it. All that other, hundreds of thousands of dollars led up to that point. So, the last time we raised prices was in 2022, and it was about 4%. Now it's 2025. So in January, we recently did about a 7% price increase. That was to take into account all the inflationary and wage and income inflation that we've seen since 2022. So less than 3% a year during that time. And we did raise prices earlier this month. And yes, we are having the same sale we have every year. But the prices will go back up after the sale, and they're not going to go back down, right? So our prices go up, they don't go back down. We do have sales. We're not going to stop having sales. But the good news is, even though the prices went up and came back down in the sale, that is the new price of these products. We're not going to lower the prices back down after the sale. That would be gimmicky. We don't do that. So Like I said, I understand the perception. It correlates. It's a little inconvenient, but we typically raise prices at the beginning of the year, and we have our sales throughout the year, like we always do. And they're not linked. The price increases that we have are not linked or timed to sales. They're just not. So, hopefully that answers the question. But I understand the concern, and like I've said, it's an important one to me, and that's why I just spent 10 minutes talking about it to make sure. And I don't think you'll hear any other presidents of any other company talk like this about their price increases. So hopefully you guys appreciate it.
Yeah, we don't want to be doing that. It's just the market is doing well. Yeah, you've seen it in every single sector.
And I don't know. I just hope everybody that's been watching this is making more money today than they were in 2022. Right? I really hope for you. I can honestly say that everyone at 034 Motorsport is getting paid more now than they were back then. We've been able to give people raises to keep up with the cost of inflation and to be able to grow and develop their life, to hopefully buy a house or to have kids or to save for their retirement or go on the vacation they've wanted to go on or whatever it is. So for this company, we only get raises when we raise the price, and the company does need a consistent level of profit to continue to operate how we do. This is not a charity, unfortunately. I don't think Elon Musk will be sending us any Doge dollars anytime soon. So it's a business. It's straight business, and it's what we have to work with. And we really appreciate you guys understanding and trusting that we do strive to keep prices as low as possible.
Were you listening to all the Bitcoin stuff on the way in this morning?
Which Bitcoin stuff?
No, we don't need to get into that here.
I saw Elon's tweet about not going to parties this weekend so he could shut down the rest of the guys out. Poor guy. Will there be a chance for seconds on the chili this Saturday? Yes, definitely. I make a lot of chili. In fact, the pot is about this big around.
It's
and about this
pounds.
tall. Yeah, it's about 250 pounds once fully loaded. And there are seconds. So definitely come with a healthy appetite. Love to feed you. If you didn't know, I make a pot roast chili. This is a homemade scratch-made chili I make on site with pot roast steak meat. Not like ground beef or anything like that. It's got real steak in it. It's very good. I actually cook all the pot roast on Friday, the day before, and then I preserve the braising liquid as the base for the chili. Instead of using beef broth, I use beef broth. So it turns out really good. If I get the downpipe for my B9 A4, will it throw codes since there isn't a Stage 2 release yet? Mm-hmm. Yes, you will get a check engine light and codes with the cat. It is possible that when using the Brisk spark plugs on an SQ5 B9 Stage 193 daily, after a while doing a wide open throttle, I had misfire problems due to dirt.
Yeah, I don't know.
Today,
I saw this question.
Pushed it, and in third gear, I felt some jerk.
Yeah, we can't really do much with those questions. Like we need a lot more info to know.
Yeah.
What is dirt and what is a jerk?
I hope there's no dirt on your spark plug.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a translation issue or maybe a autocorrect thing.
Yeah, please email tuning@034motorsport.com and our support team will be happy to help you.
Yep.
Would your density line control arm kit cause an increase in NVH? What is the actual benefit of that kit, or is it just a good OEM replacement? I have a C8 S7. There's virtually no NVH from our control arm kits, and that's a result of the fact that we can only make those bushings so stiff. They would have to be solid rubber to increase the NVH, and that solid, they would not solid rubber, but a very stiff hydrometer rubber, and that rubber would ultimately tear because it didn't have enough elasticity. The benefit is, they are an OEM upgrade. I would say they're kind of an OEM plus type upgrade. They're just going to be brand new, good control arms, and the rubber material is going to be slightly stiffer than the stock. The rest of the control arm is a high quality, either casting or aluminum forging, just like the factory, and a very high quality ball joint end as well. So um, the idea is you could go buy the factory arms for $2,000 or $3,000, or you could buy a kit for $700-800. That's even better than the factory one. So if you want to go more into the upgrade realm, then we have our adjustable upper control arms, which will allow you to add camber or eliminate camber. And then we are working on some spherical inner bushings for the uppers as well. In general, we've played with spherical lower control arms, and on the street cars, the NVH is really high with those, and so and they're really expensive to do, so we've gone away from that. Is there a low pressure fuel pump required to help meet the demand when you added your MPI to your development car?
It depends on the platform. B8, most are going to need a low pressure side upgrade as well. It really depends how much output you're going for, and if the low side can keep up. But it is certainly more demand on the low side. You're going to need more fuel overall. So yes, most will probably need an upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything we want to? We got 4 minutes left. Anything we want to jump on?
There was one asking, is it okay to jump from stock to stage 2 plus with the supporting mods? Yeah, that's the whole point. If you've got all the supporting mods and everything's, and the supporting mods also includes like a healthy base, motor and systems around it, or your injectors, plugs, everything else in good shape. But yeah, if you've got all the required hardware, then absolutely, there's no reason you can't jump up to a 2 or 2 plus.
There isn't really anything that would be quickly covered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit nuanced.
Yeah. Is that a S2 limousine in the background? It's the Silva Bullet.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a 90 sedan, a B490 that was converted with a VR6 turbo kit with a bunch of our stuff. Really cool car.
Yeah.
That was built by Azevedo Motorsport in New Jersey or something. Yeah, they go by AMS Auto Works.
Yep.
Haven't dealt with that in a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can wrap up. We got a lot of questions today, and I feel like we answered a lot of them.
We've got a bunch left over, so apologies there, guys.
Last question. Are you two the owners of 034?
Oh, where did
are we the owners? Well, neither of us own 034 anymore. I talked about this very openly, but I sold the company in 2019. And so I'm a major stockholder in the company, but I thankfully not the owner anymore. I am the CEO and president, and I still run the company as I always have.
I mean, you didn't have gray hair before you were
here. That's true. Yeah, I did. I have been going gray exponentially. Owning a company is very difficult from a financial standpoint. Managing the cash flow and being the ultimate, guy or gal managing the finances and accounting. It's not necessarily the way I wanted to live my life, was to be doing accounting. So I did it for about 15 years. But I've really enjoyed being in the position I am now. Being in charge of the engineering and the marketing and the sales and the day-to-day operations and running the company, but having an accounting team and finance team to deal with, even the compliance, HR, our parent company, MP, deals with all that stuff. So I still run the company like I'm the owner, and I'm not technically the owner. I have like I said, a big financial stake in what happens, but no, I get to spend my days doing this kind of stuff with you guys and working with our engineering team and marketing team, doing all the great things that you guys see. And the kind of the back office stuff is handled by someone else now, thankfully. And the stress of all the day-to-day money and paying bills and managing the cash of the bank and all that stuff, I don't have to do any of that anymore. So it's been great.
Someone's asking if they could come tour the shop sometime. Yeah. This weekend is a great time for that. We do guided tours. We also have a lot of the office spaces or the shop space is very wide open the whole day. So come up this Saturday for Winterfest, and we'll be happy to show you around.
Yeah, that would be good. Otherwise, feel free to arrange with. I think our marketing team would be happy to give you a tour. Or our service staff at ZTF Automotive here in the building would also be happy to do that as well. So we really like showing off our facility, and so anyone's welcome, but it's by appointment.
Yep.
All right, cheers everybody. Well, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Thanks for joining us.
Yo. What's up, Troy?
Hey Troy, miss you, buddy.
Yep.
All right, see you guys.